today's practice, we're going to start in Virasana or Hero's pose. So if you have a block, I would recommend using that. And you're going to come up onto your knees, place the block between your legs, squeezing the block with your the bottom of your legs. Go ahead and sit down onto the block. This is going to give you a little bit more space for your knees. You want to make sure there's no discomfort in your knees, and we want to try and get a little bit of space here so that our feet are flat on the floor behind us. We're sitting evenly on our tailbone, and your tailbone is, your hips are even. Work to stack your spine over your hips and your neck and head one straight line through your spine. So think of lifting up through the crown of your head and having a nice long spine in this position. Bringing your hands to your thighs, either facing down or up. We'll just start our practice today with some controlled breathing. So if you feel any anxiety or discomfort during this breathing, pranayama breathing exercise, you can just return to your normal breath. If I'm going too fast or too slow for you, feel free to do your own count for this breathing. And today we're going to inhale for a count of 4. We're going to pause at the top of the inhale for a count of 2. And when we pause, we just want to retain the breath. We don't want to clench or have any physical discomfort, but it's just a gentle pause at the top. And then we'll exhale for a count of 4. We'll retain the breath for a count of 2. So I'm going to walk you through it. If at any point you need a break, feel free to just come back to your natural breathing. So sitting tall with a tall spine, close your eyes. Take a few natural breaths, inhaling and exhaling. Inhale through your nose. Exhale through your mouth. Letting it all go. Inhale through your nose. Exhale through your mouth. We'll begin our practice. Inhale, let all the air out. Inhale for a count of 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause. Last round. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause. Go ahead and take a big inhale and exhale through your mouth, letting it all go. Coming back to just your natural inhales and exhales. Breathing in through your nose and out through your nose as we move through our practice. Our goal for this practice is to stay present and stay on our mat and in our body as we move through these various asanas. Go ahead and remove your block and come to a tabletop position with your hands outer shoulder distance apart. The middle of your peace fingers should be pointing towards the top of your mat. Pressing down firmly through the four corners of your hands. Making sure your knees are underneath your hip and hip distance apart. Feel free to tuck your toes or curl them under, whatever feels more comfortable for you. If you curl them under, you'll have a little bit more stability. Work to have a nice long spine. So really soften your front ribs in by kind of engaging your core, and then broaden through your collarbones to make sure that you have a nice bright chest, very open. Reach through the crown of your head at the same time as you kind of reach through your tailbone. Tabletop's a great position. We can come back to this quite a bit as we go through our Surya Namaskar A and as we warm up our body. So now that we have our foundation set, let's go ahead and do some cat-cows just to kind of wake up our spine. So go ahead and on your next inhale, bring your shoulders up into a nice rounding your spine into a cat. And then exhale, drop your belly, pull your heart through your hands, lift your crown of your head, cat. And inhale to that was cow. Inhale to cat. Exhale, cow. Making sure you're pressing down through the four corners of your hands. Go ahead and do a few rounds of this on your own, following your own inhales and exhales. Feeling a stretch through your shoulder blades in cat. And then feeling that great release and broadening through your collarbones on your cow belly. One more round, and then we'll meet in tabletop. With a nice neutral spine. Go ahead and tuck your toes under. Press down into your hands as you lift your hips towards the sky into our first downward dog of the day. Take a look back and make sure that your feet are still hip distance apart, that your heels are disappearing behind your feet, that you can't see your heels. Send your inner thighs back towards the back of your mat as you lengthen through your tailbone. Press down into the inner edge of your hand as you wrap your outer arms in. Work to get a long line from the crown of your head through your tailbone. Downward facing dog can become a great resting pose for us as we begin to build strength. Inhale and exhale. One more inhale, pressing into our hands as we lift our hips towards the sky. And exhale. Go ahead and come back down to tabletop and all the way down to your belly for cobra. Press the tops of your feet firmly into the ground. Bring your hands next to your shoulders. Roll your inner thighs up and lengthen your tailbone down to engage your lower belly. Really press the tops of your thighs and your feet into the ground, engaging your glutes slightly to help protect your lower back. On your next inhale, begin to peel your chest up off the ground as you shine your heart forward for baby cobra. Really working to keep the collarbones broad and a lot of space through the front of our body. We don't want to compress our lower back, so think of bringing this back bend into your thoracic back, your upper spine. Exhale, let it all go. Go ahead and bring your hands to the outside of your mat. I'm going to do a little bit wider cobra here. And do the same thing. We're going to, on our next inhale, as we push our feet firmly into the ground, roll our inner thighs up, send our sitting bones towards our heels, help engage that belly. Think of lifting forward and up into your next cobra, using your fingertips to prop you up. Lengthen through the crown of your head. Reach your heart forward and through. Think of lifting up and out, shining your heart forward. Exhale, let it all go. Bring your hands back by your side. Push up through tabletop into downward facing dog. Go ahead and walk your feet to the top of your mat. To our first forward fold. Take a slight bend in your knees. You can have your fingertips on the floor in front of you or grabbing your elbows. Go ahead and let your head pour down and just let all the tension out of your head and your neck. If you have any discomfort, you can bend your knees more. It's going to give you a little bit more space. And keep even breathing as we let that tension just fall through the crown of our head. Anchoring your feet on your next inhale, go ahead and very slowly ragdoll your body all the way up to the top of your mat. Bring your shoulders up, back, and down. Check to make sure your feet are hip distance apart. Keeping your hands by your side for Tadasana. So let's really work on this foundation. This is a great asana that's going to give us a lot of strength and really help us with our foundation. So root down through the four corners of your feet. Lift your inner arches. Hug your outer ankles in. Send your inner thighs back, and you're going to notice that kind of pops your butt out a little bit. And as you do that, lengthen your tailbone down. That's going to help you get a nice foundation. Soften your front ribs in to engage your core as you broaden through your collarbones. Lift through the four sides of your neck. Drop your chin, lift your chin slightly as you lengthen through the back of your neck. Root down through your feet as you lift up through the crown of your head. And remember to keep breathing. Inhale your arms all the way up. Exhale, soften your knees and forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift with a long spine, bringing your fingertips to the floor or to your shins, so you're making a 7 with your body. Exhale, step your right foot back and lower your knee for low lunge. Look to make sure that your front knee is stacked over your ankle. Squeeze your legs to the midline. Take your hands to your knee to rise up for low lunge. In this low lunge, really work to engage your right glute to press your front hip forward. You're going to get a nice stretch in your hip flexor. As we do this, soften your front ribs in and broaden through your collarbone to keep a nice long spine. Once you've done that, take your arms and lift them up over your head, plugging your shoulders onto your back. Now don't lift your arms so much that it causes your back to back bend. We want to keep those front ribs in and broad through our collarbone. So even if you can only take your arms to shoulders distance, that's fine. Let's keep the integrity of our spine. Inhale, exhale, leaning into that hip flexor. And bring your hands back down. Step your left knee back to tabletop. And then tuck your toes and lift back up to downward facing dog. Inhale and exhale. On your next exhale, walk your feet back to the front of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, rise all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Step your left foot back Making sure that your feet are parallel and hip distance apart. Drop your back knee. Check to make sure that your front knee is lined up over your ankle. Take your hands to your knee. Squeeze your legs to the midline and begin to lean into your front knee to get a nice hip flexor stretch on your left leg. Engage your glute as you push into your hip flexor. Soften your front ribs in, broaden through your collarbone. When you're ready, you can begin to lift your arms in front of you, remembering to only go high enough so that we don't arch into our back, that we're keeping our spine straight. And as you breathe here, you may find that you can begin to bring your arms up millimeter by millimeter as your shoulders begin to loosen. Keep squeezing to the midline, keep squeezing your outer glutes of your outer thighs in for that stability. Reach up through the crown of your head. Remember to continue breathing. Bring your hands back down. Go ahead and step your right knee back into tabletop. Pushing up into downward facing dog. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale and letting go, exhale. For your next exhale, walk to the front of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Long spine. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, long spine. Step your right foot back. A little bit of a shorter stance here. Line your front heel up with your back heel. And then rise up for pyramid pose. This is going to be a really great hamstring stretch for you. So check to make sure your heels are in line with each other. Your back foot should be pointed towards, your toes should be pointed towards the front corner of your mat. Take your hands to your hips and rotate so that your hip bones are shining to the front of your mat. Really work to keep those your hips square and even, so we're not dumping into either of our hips. Squeeze your legs to the midline, lift up through the crown of your head. With a long spine, begin to hinge forward. Engage your core to protect your lower back. You can take a micro bend in your front knee so that you're not locking out your front knee. Keep breathing. Reach through the crown of your head. And when you're ready, with that long spine, you can take your, continue to bend forward to take your hands to your shin, or if you have blocks, to blocks or to the floor. Keep reaching the crown of your head forward as you reach your sitting bones back. Check to make sure that your hips haven't popped out of line, that your hips are still square to each other. Press into your front toe mound as you reach your front glute towards the back of the room. You're going to feel a really great IT stretch here. So really root into that front toe and work to get your left glute towards the back of your mat, your left hip towards the back of the mat. On your next exhale, go ahead and fold right into this stretch. Keeping some nice long inhales and exhales. Squeeze your legs to the midline. And inhale. Bring your hands to your hips. Bend your front knee slightly. Root down through your feet as you rise all the way up. Go ahead and take the next side. So step your feet to the top of your mat. Back into Tadasana. Step your left foot back. Pivot your toes towards the front corner of your mat. Line your heels up, heel to heel. Work to get your hips pointing towards the front of your mat and even. You may need to adjust your back foot slightly, so if you need more space, you can take a little bit wider of a stance. Inhale, lengthen through the crown of your head, hands on your hips. Exhale, forward fold over your front leg. Take a micro bend in your knee so you don't lock your front knee. Keep lengthening through the crown of your head, rooting through your back heel. You can bring your hands to your shins, to blocks, or to the ground. Really work to draw your right hip back so that it is even with your left hip. Exhale, on your next exhale, go ahead and fold into the stretch. Press into your front toe mound as you reach your right hip toward the back of the mat. And again, you're going to feel a really nice IT band stretch here. Exhale. Keep lengthening through the crown of your head as you reach your tailbone up and back. On your next inhale, bring your hands to your hips, soften your front knee, root down through your feet as you rise up. Come back to the top of the mat. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, step your left foot back. Drop your knee into that low lunge. Go ahead and hop your knee back a few inches and lift your front toes off the mat and begin to slide your heel forward, and you can kind of help it if you need to for our half splits. So we want to keep our hips stacked over our back knee. Fingers can come on either side of your leg, keeping a long spine. And this is going to give you a beautiful hamstring stretch. So push through your front toe mound as you take your right hip back. Inhale, exhale. Once you kind of find a nice stretch, you can intensify it by rounding over your front leg. Breathe into any sensations that you might feel. Keep pushing into that front toe mound as you really root that right hip back. Keep your front foot flexed. On your next exhale, go ahead and bring your front foot down. Now walk it back to that low lunge. And then step your foot back into tabletop. Step your left foot forward. Your right knee down. And keep your knee underneath your hips. Begin to straighten your front foot. Might need to walk your heel forward a little bit. Take your hands to either side of your leg. Push into your front toe mound as you take your left hip back. Don't lock your knee. On your next exhale, on your next inhale, lengthen your spine. Exhale to fold. Really push evenly through your foot. Moving your hips back to get a beautiful hamstring and IT stretch. On your next inhale, bring your foot back to a square, into low lunge, and then step it back into tabletop. And then sit back on your feet. We're gonna sit with our legs straight in front of us. Root both your sitting bones down into the ground. Make sure that your spine is stacked over your pelvis. Now, if you find yourself leaning forward, it might be because you have tight hamstrings. So feel free to bend your knees slightly, and that's going to give you a little bit more space to have that nice tall spine. I don't want to see you rounding forward. From here, bring your arms up. Think of having a nice tall, long spine as you hinge at the waist forward as far as you can. Now don't round, keep a tall, strong spine. Send your inner thighs towards your mat, lengthen your tailbone down, anchoring through your tailbone. Now, once you've hinged as far as you can, feel free to bring your hands down. And then on your next exhale, you can go ahead and round and fold. You can grab at your calves or your feet, whatever feels comfortable for you, and go ahead and let go. Should be a nice release for your lower back. Your legs should still be active, so really pushing through your feet, engaging your legs as you fold. Inhale, come back up. Take your hands, we're going to go ahead and scoot our bottom forward and roll on back down. With your feet planted on the floor, take your right leg, cross it over your left knee for a figure 4 stretch. Flex your foot to help protect your knee. You can stay here. If you want a little bit more, reach your hands through the window and go ahead and interlace them on the back of your left thigh. This is going to give you a nice juicy hip opener on the outside of your right hip and your glute. Continue to breathe. Our hips hold a lot of emotions, so there's a lot of feelings that can kind of get stored away in there. So breathe through any sensation. If you need a little bit more juicy of a stretch, you can intensify it by bringing your leg towards your body, your left leg towards your body. Stay with whatever feels comfortable for you. Remembering to breathe. Lower your left leg, uncross your right leg, cross your left leg, stay here, flexing your foot to protect your knee, or bring your right leg up and grab behind your thigh. Each side of our body is going to feel different, so be respectful of that. Just because you can go deeper into a stretch on your right side doesn't mean you should do it on your left side. Our goal is to find our edge, whatever that might be. And just breathe there. You don't have to rush anything. It's not a race to be the most flexible person in the room. Keep lengthening your inhales and your exhales. Really breathe into that sensation, that release. Make sure that our lower back is rooted firmly into our mat. And bring your right foot down, your left foot down. And then extend your right leg and your left leg for Shavasana. Take up as much room as you need to on your mat. Really sink into the mat and find that comfortable, restful place. I will mind the time for us. Your goal right now is just to find complete and total relaxation. No need to control your breathing. Just relax, relax, relax. See if you can let go of any tension in your face. tongue from the roof of your mouth. Let go of any tension in your jaw. Try not to think or plan ahead. Just be in this moment, in this quiet. If you have time to stay in Savasana longer, please feel free to do that. This is when the most important part of your practice takes place, and we're able to let all the work that we have done sink into our body and calm and quiet our nervous system. If you're ready to come out of Shavasana, go ahead and wiggle your fingers and your toes. Begin to bring some energy back into them. It might feel good to reach your arms up over your head and stretch through your fingertips and your toes like you're waking up in the morning. If this is the morning or early in the day, feel free to roll over to your right side. If it's later in the evening, you might want to roll over to your left side for a little bit more calming. Use your arm as a pillow under your head. And then slowly use your top arm to help push you up to a comfortable seated position. A nice tall spine. Should feel a little bit more space in our hamstrings, a little bit more stability, and a little bit more center to take on the rest of our day. Bring your hands to heart center. The light and love in me honors and sees the light and love in you. Namaste.